Welcome back to Ask a Lawyer, and now I'm going to talk with Mark Avera about uninsured motorist coverage. Mark, seems that even though we've talked about this before, people seem to think they don't need the coverage, and maybe we could go through this and explain why someone would need that kind of coverage.
Yeah, well, from once or twice a month we sent out an email to current and ex-clients about issues that are in the legal news, and we get more responses and more questions about uninsured motorist coverage than just about anything else. Case in point, we had an ex-client call us recently. She had been involved in a pretty bad accident and was severely hurt. The person that caused the accident had no insurance whatsoever. And although our client, she and her husband did have bodily injury coverage, they had signed a form provided to them by their insurance agent where they waived uninsured motorist coverage. So as a result of that, she had nothing but PIP, only $10,000 to go to all of her medical bills, which were far, far in excess of $10,000, and her lost wages. That's all there was. Because she had waived uninsured motorist coverage, she had no insurance coverage to pay for the damages that the uninsured driver caused. Had she not signed that form, she would have had on her policy $200,000 in uninsured motorist coverage.
Wow. And is it a lot more expensive when you do add that to your policy, or?
It really is not. Bodily injury coverage is the coverage that you buy so that if you injure somebody in a motor vehicle accident, that coverage is the coverage that protects you. Your insurance company pays the cost if a claim is brought. If there's a lawsuit filed, they select and pay for the lawyer to defend you. So if you have bodily injury coverage on your policy, by law, your insurance company has to sell you the same amount of uninsured motorist coverage. If you ask your agent to quote you what the policy costs with uninsured motorist coverage and without, it's a very small difference. The more costly coverages on your policy are PIP, no-fault coverage, and bodily injury insurance. Those are insurance coverages that cost a lot more than UM.
And so people just think, oh, well, they'll never need that. It's not a big deal. Certainly everybody has some kind of insurance, or really don't understand what it means.
Well, sometimes people may say, is there any way that I can save money on this policy? And the insurance agent will say, well, sure, you could waive uninsured motorist coverage. You don't need that because you already have PIP. Well, that's not exactly accurate. And it saves just a little bit of money. When you compare the price of with UM, uninsured motorist coverage, and without UM, it's a very small difference. If you're ever in a motor vehicle crash where the person who injures you or your family member doesn't have any insurance or doesn't have enough to cover all of your damages, you're going to be looking to your own insurance company, to your own policy, to pay for those damages. And that's what you pay the premium for, to make sure that coverage is there in case you need it.
So it's really a shortcut that people take, and they don't realize the repercussions, like the case that you just talked about.
Well, we get a lot of people that email us back and say, you know, I didn't even know that I didn't have UM on my policy till I read your blog, your email, and I called my agent. What everybody should do is look at their policy. If you have bodily injury coverage, let's say you have $50,000 per person, $100,000 per accident, then you should have an equal amount, $50,000, $100,000, in uninsured motorist coverage. If you own 3 vehicles, you want it to be stacked. That means you have $150,000 per person, $300,000 per accident in uninsured motorist coverage. It can get kind of confusing, but the best rule of thumb to go by with your insurance agent is you do want uninsured motorist coverage, you do want the most that you can get under the law, and you don't want to waive insurance coverage, you don't want non-stacking, you want to make sure that UM is on your policy. That's the simple rule of thumb to go by.
Could you just explain the stacking?
Yeah, the stacking means if you have multiple vehicles on your policy, if you have $50,000, $100,000 in BI, then that's all the coverage you have if you hurt somebody. But if somebody crashes into you and they don't have any insurance coverage, then you're looking to your UM coverage. If you have $50,100 and you have one vehicle, then you have $50,000 that's available to you on your UM policy. But if you have 5 vehicles, you take that $50,000 and multiply it by 5 for a total of $250,000 in UM. Now there's a greater premium for that, but compare the price of that. It's usually a very small price in addition to your BI coverage. I always tell people to get as much UM on their policy as they can afford.
Very good. It's confusing, but I think when you boil it down to don't skip the UM.
Don't skip the UM and get as much as the insurance company will sell you.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, Linda.
And we'll be right back.